Hello, human beings. My name is Professor Fox. I'm as smart as a fox and I have a wonderful fox tail that is the envy of others. But enough about me. Let me ask you, would you like to be as smart as a fox? I am here to tell you how to be as smart as Professor Fox. Pay attention, human beings. By the way, if you have trouble hearing me, you can turn on the automatic captions by clicking the caption logo below. Some people think that a student learns by simply absorbing information, like pouring water into a container. They think that learning is simply adding information to your brain. In that naive view, the more information in your brain, the more intelligent you are. But real learning is about learning to think better, to be flexible and adaptable in learning. Do you human beings follow Professor Fox so far? Good. Human beings are easily distracted. Not like foxes, who are very focused. So listen up. There is a difference between the information that you absorb and how you think about the information that you absorb. You can absorb lots of information but not think better. The way that people think is a habit. Habits are a kind of automatic behavior, like an insect or like a robot. It is hard to change a habit and it is hard to change a habit in thinking. Let me give you an example of what I mean. US President Donald Trump gets information all the time, but the information does not change what Donald Trump thinks or how he thinks. He is not learning anything new. He is not improving how he thinks. Donald Trump can only distort information to fit what he wants to believe. The habits that Donald Trump has in thinking, his way of thinking, interferes with his learning.
Look.
Let's look.
And if you look at death,
Yeah. Started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than
We're
the
lower
world.
than
What is that?
Europe.
In
Take a
what?
look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't I do that?
You have to go by. You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases.
So Donald Trump is saying the US is lower than the world. Let's have a look at that. Taking data from the leading authority on the virus, the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center, which is based in the US. Here are the 5 countries with the highest total of confirmed cases. America is far, far above the other 4. Next, the number of deaths in the 5 worst hit countries. America is again a long way clear. And this shows the top 5 when we look at the number of new daily confirmed cases over the last week. America has been in front, it's just dipped below India. But that raw data doesn't include population size, doesn't account for it, so let's add that in. This shows the number of deaths per 100,000 people. The UK is on top there, the US is 4th. Many consider that to be the single most helpful guide in assessing the impact of the virus in each country. The president, though, was focused on the mortality rate, that's the number of deaths compared to the number of confirmed cases. Again, the UK is on the top, the US is 14th, so not top, but certainly not lower than the world, as President Trump claimed.
If Donald Trump read the textbook in this course, he would learn nothing. He would be thinking the same way as before he read the text. He is like a termite. Termites are a kind of biological machine to consume things without thinking. So what about you humans? How will you read the course textbook? Do you see the textbook as information to absorb? Put your hand up if that is how you think. Okay. A few hands. Put your hands down. Or do you see the textbook as a way to change your habits and think and learn to think better? Will you actually learn from the textbook? Put your hand up if that is what you want to do. Okay, I see a few hands, but not many. Maybe you are skeptical. Here are some tips from Professor Fox. Are you listening? Number 1 tip. Buy the course textbook early and plan to read the course textbook before each lecture. The instructor for this course, Shawn Thompson, a good human being, chooses the textbook carefully for a course. He chooses a textbook that is shorter than the average university textbook and is more practical and useful in the real world than a typical university textbook. Some university students don't even buy the textbook for a course. They think they don't need it. They think that their past knowledge is enough for them to pass a course without doing much mental work. They are like lazy donkeys, not like foxes. but that will not work in this course, because the marking of assignments is based on what you learn from the lectures and the textbook. In the old days before the coronavirus, the instructor of this course kept statistics on the number of students in his courses who bought the textbook and when they bought the textbook. Those statistics indicated how different groups of students would perform in the course. The students who read the textbook performed like foxes. The students who did not read the textbook performed like donkeys. So, buy the course textbook early and plan to read the course textbook before each lecture. Now humans, my number 2 foxy tip, take notes when you read the text. Write down words that are unfamiliar to you and then find the meaning of those words. Write down important terms in the text and define those terms. When you see an important word or term, check the index at the back of the textbook for cross-references. Even if you think you know the meaning of a term, check it anyway. Analyze how thinking is done in the text and write your analysis down. Ask the textbook questions about what you read and write those questions down. Let me ask you, does that sound simple? Do you do that already? If you do not do that, let me ask you, why do you not do that? Do you have a reason? Take it from a fox. Some human beings read a book quickly, without taking notes, believing that they have total recall and that when they have a question, they will be able to recall everything in the book. Believe me, that is naive. Human beings do not have total recall. Human beings forget a lot. Reading requires thought and taking notes helps you to think. Now humans, my number 3 foxy tip. Take notes when you read of what way of thinking is different from how you think. For example, suppose you read a biography about Mahatma Gandhi, a great human being. How does Gandhi think differently from you? Or suppose you read a biography of billionaire George Soros. How does George Soros thinking in a different way from you? Now human beings, my 4th foxy tip. Engage in a conversation with the text. What, you say, that is a strange idea. How can you have a conversation with a text? It's just an object. Well, why are you listening to a fox now? This idea of having a conversation with a text is a deep psychological idea founded on psychological reality. If you are interested in exploring this idea more, you could read the books of Russian philosopher Mikhail Bakhtin. The idea is that human beings have consciousness and human beings have reflective self-consciousness. This means that you can think in your brain without talking and you can think about thinking. You can reflect on yourself. You can imagine situations that just take place in your brain. By imagining a situation, you can prepare for what you might do in the future. The plays of William Shakespeare have what are called soliloquies, where a person has an imaginary conversation with himself or herself out loud. That makes sense to us because it is a psychological reality. The brilliant scientist Albert Einstein changed the understanding of the physical world with a thought experiment. He thought of a change in the understanding of physics before the idea could be proven empirically. The humanitarian Mahatma Gandhi changed society by imagining a better society and then working to make it happen. You can change the world by using your brain. Do you follow the idea so far? So, you can imagine a conversation with someone you know when you are alone. You imagine what this person might say to you and you imagine what you would say back. You are imagining an imaginary conversation to prepare for a future possibility. When you are reading a book, why can't you imagine a conversation with the author of the book? Do you want to read a book passively, as though you are trying to pour ideas into your head? Or do you want to read a book actively, using your brain while you read? Are you a reading machine or are you a reader who thinks? When you write an article or a report, why can't you imagine the audience of that piece of writing and imagine how the audience might respond, what questions the audience might have for you? If you imagine the questions the audience might have in advance, you can answer those questions in what you write before the audience reads what you write. What are you doing right now but imagining that a fox is talking to you like a human being? You are using your imagination while you listen. Think about it, human beings. There are lots of great books to have conversations with. The outline of this course has a bibliography of recommended books that could change how you think. This fox has talked long enough for now. Human beings have the attention span of a mouse. Big bellies and small attention spans. Let Professor Fox finish by saying this. Ways of thinking are a kind of habit that can limit what you think and can limit what you can accomplish. Do not be a Donald Trump who cannot change how he thinks.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't
Donald Trump can only distort information to fit what he wants to believe. Let me ask you, is it how you want to be? Do you want to be like a termite or like a donkey or like a jackal? Or do you want to be a fox? Personally, I think it is better to be a fox, but you humans can decide for yourselves. Maybe you do not want to listen to a fox. You human beings have the gift of consciousness, self-reflection and imagination. You can use those gifts to think better and to communicate better. I hope you have learned something today from Professor Fox. Now I will watch the Fox television network to see if anything that human beings say can be believed.